Update.
I'm Bryant DeHorn, and this is your Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Alabama's season opener with Miami will officially kick off at 2:30 Central on September 4th. The Alabama softball team will host a regional this weekend featuring Alabama State, Troy, Clemson, and the Crimson Tide. Deontay Wilder has won a lawsuit that will allow him to schedule a new rematch with Tyson Fury. The previous rematch was canceled due to the pandemic. The Northridge Jaguars have scheduled a spring game this Friday with the ACA Patriots. The game will kick off at 6 p.m. Tickets are available for $6 on GoFan.co.
For more details on these stories and more, check out the Tide 100.9 website or download the free Tide 100.9 app. 27 SEC titles. 131 first-team All-Americans. 70 postseason appearances. 30. This is Alabama football. This is Alabama tradition with Martin Houston. 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, so we welcome you to Alabama Tradition. I'm Ryan Fowler. Martin Houston here with me. We're going to talk some Alabama Crimson Tide football. We're going to get you ready for this big Alabama game. We're only 9 days away. Can you believe it? We've started at 2:45 and we're down to 109 away from the University of Alabama. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to discuss. It is Martin Houston. And Martin, you're looking good. I hope all is well, my friend.
All is well, Ryan. Hey, Ryan, you need to turn the volume down. Getting some feedback from the studio.
I got you.
In the studio, we're getting feedback on this end.
Okay, gotcha. All right. How about now? Is that perfect?
Yeah,
Is that better?
You're perfect. So that sounds good, man. Glad to be in with you. Glad to be here. Hope everything is well, sir.
Yeah, everything is good. And, Martin, I want to talk about a couple of different things, kind of diving into a couple areas. Alabama found a punter, and it's a conversation that I've talked about multiple times with transfers, but Alabama was able to find a punter, and I've said this multiple times. If you give Nick Saban a chance to clean up his roster every spring following, the 15 days of spring camp, I don't know if the guy will never not win a championship in the SEC and be in a championship for the national title contender.
Well, I mean, this new rule, of course, gives roster management capability. And I've said if they don't find out, do something with the time, letting it go all the way through May, Nick Saban is going to absolutely cherry pick what's happening there. I'm not sure who he got. I had not heard that news yet. Just literally walked in from the workplace. So who did Alabama end up getting in terms of the?
So and punting was an area of concern for Alabama. I mean, they were not able to flip the field, and maybe it was just some of it that we were so accustomed to J.K. Scott. But Jack Martin, the junior, averaged 46 1-point yards per kick. He played for Troy, and I'm a little bit split about this because it kind of makes me realize that the haves and the have-nots are going to really, really struggle. Because if you're a coach and you're a coach at a smaller school, you may get a player to where you want him to be, and then all of a sudden you lose him. I'm not pointing out that Jack, I think it'd be great at the University of Alabama, but a little soft spot in my heart for these smaller schools because, this guy has spent some time at Troy. He's invested. And I know he's looking for a better opportunity. I'm not disappointed by that. But did the rule really talk about coming down from the NCAA. I mean, that's where this rule kind of came from, and I don't know what their really goal of accomplishing this rule. I don't really know why we're saying that it was implemented, other than, they couldn't find another way to implement other rules.
I'm fine with the rule, Ryan. What I'm not fine with is I'm okay with a 1 year transfer, one-time transfer. When you look at college kids making decisions, Ryan, when have they been told something that hasn't panned out for most of these guys when it comes to their athletic career? Most of these guys who are being recruited at this level have been the best on their field since they were probably 6, 7, 8 years old, 9, 10 years old. And every promise that's ever been made has been kept because they've always been the best one. Okay? So a lot of these coaches promise that, and then they get to college and it's not so. You have to earn your play and earn your way. And so what happens is these guys get that reality shock. Well, after that one time of seeing that the world will lie to you to get what they want and that they're not always after your best interest, the next time they transfer, there's a consequence. My biggest thing, Ryan, is the unfairness to the kids who went through spring this year at Alabama, at Clemson, at these other places. The unfairness to the coach at Troy who spent all spring, all season and now he doesn't have a chance. He doesn't have a chance to fix his roster. And so if you were to make it where if the transfer rule and all of this stuff had to be before spring practice or somewhere between, like the NFL, somewhere between signing day and 2 weeks or whatever, you can go out and get and recruit and manage your roster. After that, it's shut down for the free transfer. You can transfer, but you can't get a free one unless you do it. Because you could do it anytime before that window, Ryan. But you know how the free agency market works in the NFL. Once it's open, but then it really gets big when you can actually sign. You can recruit the whole time.
Well, it just, to me, I look at it from a Troy standpoint. And like I said, I'm just using the Jack Martin conversation as just something that we, have two schools in this state. We don't spend a lot of time talking about Troy, but you think about their coaching staff. You think about the players on that team. Is it really fair for those players? Think about it. I mean, they busted their butt and let's say that you got a punter, and this particular young man was ranked in the top 10 collegiate punting. He was number 1 in this conference. And when you take a look and you say, okay, well, there's one thing I know about my team. Mark, we're going to have a great punter. And we're going to be able to get out some bad jams. And we're going to have, this is the way that we're going to go. But all of a sudden you lose that. I just don't know if that overall rule is good for the game of college football.
Ryan, once again, I think it's the timing of the rule. It's unfair to allow a coach to have free willy-nilly and everyone else that benefits from college football to have the option to leave whenever they want, however they want. And then the players, not only can the players not leave without consequences, anytime they want, they couldn't leave without being punished almost for a decision they made at 17 years old. Okay? That's unfair. So I'm okay with the rule. But what I'm saying is teach responsibility, teach them you can do it. You're free to go anytime, any year, anywhere. But if you're going to take advantage of the free rule, the free option, it needs to be between this time of the year. Now, and then what that does is it doesn't destroy college football. And that's what you're concerned with is Nick Saban this year, he still has another month and some change, Ryan, to get more players. I mean.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, I think his excuse now, Martin, I'll be disappointed if he's not in every championship game.
Yeah. I
will literally be disappointed if he's not a part of a championship. And I'm not trying to put the expectations where you can't reach them. But how do you not? I mean, you have a chance to clean up your roster post-spring. there's no excuse for him not to be in every championship.
And that's why I said make it before spring. Now coaches are having to really make some tough decisions, and it gives the kids at the school where these players are going to be transferring in a chance to also look. You know, Jalen Moody is a great kid, paid his dues, Ryan, and he busted his butt all spring. And now he's probably not going to be the starter, most likely, if Toa is allowed to play and not have to sit out. Now, what would happen with Jalen Moody? Would he have gone through spring if he knew already that Toa?
I see what you're saying. That's a great point. I haven't really thought about that. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, he may would have wanted to go somewhere else. He may would have been in talks with Josh Heupel, you know.
So you say it prevents him from going out and competing for another job somewhere else?
Correct. And he's stuck.
I really haven't thought about that. Yeah.
And he's here. So that's part of it as well. And I know we benefited from this. I don't have a problem with grad transfers changing whenever they want. But this is not a grad transfer. This is a kid correcting a potential mistake or just chasing playing time. And that's why I think you need to make it where the timing, Ryan, like I said, great rule. I love the rule. I just think that the May time frame after this year, and this year they let them go to July. That May time frame, I just would say move it back up, tie it all together around. See, the NFL doesn't let you have free willy-nilly, you know, you have to make these decisions before the draft. The free agents have to move before the draft so that the teams that are leaving, they're protecting their league. And this is where the NCAA, to me, is not protecting their own product. They don't get that. I mean, I know this is crazy. And last week I was messing. I said Justin Ross coming to Alabama. You know, how crazy is that? But what about this, Ryan? What about Eric Gilbert? He's not in at LSU yet. Or what about what's the tight end from A&M, Weingartner or whatever his name is? What if he decided to come to Tuscaloosa right now? I mean, the guy may want to win a championship. If I'm Nick Saban, I got people out in Texas going, man. I mean, I would have people planning on radio shows, and I would have people calling local radio shows in Texas and go, hey, what would be the impact to Texas A&M if number 85 went to Alabama? I would have that story. Now, all of a sudden, it gets back to him. Then he reaches out to Alabama. Nick Saban said, come on. Who's going to beat Alabama if we add a guy like Eric Gilbert or the kid from Texas A&M?
Great point. I mean, it goes back I promise you, Nick Saban is going to run with this rule so much that they're going to reverse it. But, Martin,
it'll be a one-year rule.
Yeah, it will probably be, and we'll name another one after Nick Saban that he got it changed. Now, if you want to jump in with Martin tonight, it's 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. We'll get phone calls coming up in a couple of minutes. But let me go back here. Let me ask you from a coaching standpoint, because I had a veteran coach on that was he spent 54 years coaching either college, pro, or he started in high school coaching. Then he went to college. Then he spent some time in the NFL. He worked with Nick Saban, Coach Pete Jenkins, who kind of talked about the coaching standpoint. He said, what does this transfer rule do when we talk about coaching? Because some of my goal is I want to break you. I want to be able to get you because I want to be able to maximize your ability. He said, I think sometimes this transfer rule, when you can just walk out any and make it easier, he said it kind of changes the way that you coach, that you may be forced. And I asked him, I said, Coach, would you change? He said, well, I'd say that I wouldn't want to, but I think I would have to. I would have to change.
Well, two things, Ryan, is they're going to have to change somewhere, okay? Nick Saban may not as much as everybody else, but when you're sitting in a kid's home now, you're going to have to be more honest than you've ever been as a recruiter, okay? You can't promise that kid playing time now and know that if he gets there and he doesn't play, that he's now faced with, man, if I leave, I'm gonna have to sit out a year and wait and start all over again. So he's less likely to transfer. Take that away, and now I can leave and I can literally pick. I can look at 130 rosters, Ryan. This is not like the NFL where there's 32 teams and they all have NFL talent. I can look at Georgia and go, oh my God, Georgia doesn't have a running back. They're struggling at quarterback. And I can leave at the end of April and May 1st be wearing a jersey ready to play for the other team. You better be honest on the recruiting, or you better treat them like love and with kid gloves when they step on campus, because that when you yell at them now, they have the upper hand. Oh, you gonna yell at me? Oh.
I'll end it with this, Martin. Have you ever wanted to quit on the football field?
You want to ask that another way? Was there a day I didn't want to quit when I was at Alabama? Probably not. I mean,
but think about how that may have shaped you. What if because the grind helped. There's lessons on that football field. Let me tell you. I know that we teach our kids that every day is like, sunshine and roses. It ain't like that. I mean, real life, man, there's days that you win and there's days that you lose.
Hey, you'll love this. For everybody, just think about having to go to your parent, that tough parent, and tell them you don't want to do something that you told them you were going to do and that they were expecting you to do. Now take that and put Gene Stallings as the name and put him in that corner office, and the fact that you are upset with how things are going and you have to go sit in his office and say, Coach, I don't want to play for you anymore. Will you release me? Yeah, that's a conversation that most 18 to 22-year-olds aren't really quite ready to have, Ryan. And if they are, it's probably time for them to go. And if they're not, guess what? Most of the time, by the time they get up enough nerves, whatever they were feeling and experience has gone away. And that's the thing. It'll stop all those reactionary, I've been mistreated, I don't like it here anymore, jump ship type of thing. Ryan, I went from, when I came back my freshman year, I was slotted on the depth chart at 1 or 2. I didn't make my test, and then put me last place on the walk-on depth chart, and I practiced with the regular team. Then they made me go run scout team, and then after practice, they made me run every single day. If I could have just transferred out.
But you know what? And I got to get to break here. We'll come back and talk about it. But I think you could probably back up and see how that molded you as an individual, or not molded.
Oh, molded is correct.
Okay. Well then, and I think I've asked a half a dozen players in the last month, have you ever wanted to quit? And I've not heard one. No, I never crossed my mind. Anyway, let's talk about it when we come back. Let's talk about ways that Alabama will not be in the national championship game. That's Martin Houston, national champion winning fullback at the University of Alabama. I'm Ryan Fowler. This is Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Do you feel vibrations when you step on your brake pedal? Is it taking you too long to come to a complete stop? Well, then it just might be time to replace your brakes. Don't wait for brake failure to cause an accident. Replace your brakes with high-quality brakes from Northport Auto Supply. Northport Auto Supply has the area's largest inventory of brakes in stock and will help you find the brakes that are best for your car. Northport Auto Supply. Why go anywhere else?
Everybody loves Taco Casa. Everything we do in our store, we prepare in our store. We hand cut all of our tomatoes. We block and shred our own cheese here in the store. So we still hand cut our chips, our sopapillas, our taco shells, our chimalupa bowls. Our chili takes about 4 to 6 hours to make every single day. The goal in that is to provide the freshest, best quality to our customers. So we just look at it as, hey, basically, we're your kitchen. You're just coming to eat in your kitchen. Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
I need these boxes in bin 7. Oh, hello. Hi. I just wanted to call in and find out when.
Whitney's warehouse foreman just retired, and the replacement needs to move to fulfillment.
Hold on. Guys, can we get the dock cleared now?
Indeed can help her hire the people she needs.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Risky behavior with alcohol can lead to future health problems without warning. High blood pressure, stroke, and cancer. Substance misuse is dangerous. Knowing the risk is vital.
Meet Bob Minetti. In 2016, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Bob participated in a clinical trial that included cutting-edge radiation therapy and surgery. He's been in remission since completion. I'm Keisha Sharp. Since losing my mother to pancreatic cancer, I've been working to share the kind of state-of-the-art work being done by Stand Up to Cancer and Lustgarten Foundation. To learn more about the latest research, including clinical trials, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
You are listening to Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler. Your connection to Tuscaloosa and the University of Alabama Athletics on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
It's rough to get old. I just want to put that on record, okay? I'll tell you a funny story. Sometimes you got to laugh at yourself, right? Just a little bit. Martin, I have spent most of the day today looking for my debit card, okay? I've lost it. I've lost my debit card. I mean, I went through all my different mindset of like, okay, somebody's going to cash out all the money. They're going to be able to do it. And I didn't want to hit the no and being able to cancel it. Literally, I stood up 3 minutes ago, and I said, what is that in my back pocket? I said, that feels a little different here. I have literally sat on my debit card all day today. It's been in my back pocket. I tore the house up looking for it earlier today. I accused my dog. I accused my cat. I mean, I was looking for somebody to take my debit card, and it was in my back pocket. It's rough to get old, Martin Houston.
Well, at least you didn't come on and say, man, I was looking for my debit card, and it was in the last place I looked for it. When I hear people say that, I'm always like, I hope that is always true, because if you kept looking after you found it, you're older than you think. But anyway, yeah, Ryan, it's rough getting old, and that's pretty bad, Ryan, sitting on your debit card and looking for it.
I'm looking for it all. I mean, I have literally been looking for it for probably 8 or 9 hours.
Have you ever been on the phone and talking to someone and start looking for your phone? Has that happened yet?
No.
I've done it briefly, but I had an employee that communicated to me that they were late for work because they had been in the parking deck for the last 10 minutes looking for their phone. And come to find out, they were on their phone driving to work and pulled into the deck and continued the conversation. And while they were getting ready to get out of the car talking to the person, they were looking for their phone. That's getting old.
It is. But I'm okay with it. I mean, wisdom. See, I'm trading for wisdom for things like that because I have experience, and I try to tell people, daughter, nephews, nieces, hey, listen, don't do that, because I've done it. I feel crazy for saying that I've done it. But so, Martin, going back to what we were talking about when we talked about molding a person. There's more. I know we look at footballs and it's all about championships, and you think about, winning a championship and having a chance to do all the special things, which those things are good. And I think this goes across it's all sports. If you want to talk about Alabama's SEC championship winning softball program, or if you want to talk about the gymnastics team, SEC champions, or the basketball team or the football team, you learn life lessons. The hardest professors were my favorite professors because they challenged me in a lot of different ways. I just feel like you're removing some of those life lessons that football gives you.
Yeah, my wife has a thing that sits on the end of a bar table we have that says, you grow through the things you go through. You grow through what you go through, and that's one of the things that is, as a whole, Ryan, is creating some issues of opportunity for growth for our young people, and thus I think a lot of times you see the reaction or overreaction with some of our younger generation when things don't go well. The overreaction to that, and football players aren't exempt from that. They're just bigger, faster, stronger versions of us. And like I said, it's a good rule. I just think they rushed it. I think they should have thought through it a little bit. I think it should have been implemented for next year, past this year, implemented with the time frames between December, the first week of December, when the season ends, through 2 weeks after signing day, and then that gives everybody a chance to really do the roster management. And if a team goes into spring, they know who they've lost, and they have all of spring to adjust and get someone the necessary reps to be prepared. Because college football, Ryan, doesn't have a preseason like all the other sports. So there is no chance for someone to come out and compete and win and get that game experience.
So, Martin, let me backtrack here for just a minute, and then I'm going to jump in with some phone calls. If you want to jump in at 205-342-9904, if you're Nick Saban, because the question that I want to ask, and this is something I'm going to do on tomorrow's show on the afternoon side of it, is if you're looking at Alabama's roster, tell me an area that Alabama needs help. So if you're looking for another player to add, because you pointed it out, you've got till July to do it. You've got about 45 days now that you can go out and you can hang a shingle and you can say, hey, we're looking for this. We're looking for this. Is there a position that you're looking for? I mean, we could run through it. I mean, running back depth, pretty solid. Wide receiver depth, pretty solid. Tight end. I mean, you said you could always try to find a way to get better, but you got to be pleased with Cameron Latou and Andre Billingsley there. 13, 14 5-stars on the offensive line. Surely Doug Marrone can put 5 together. Defensive line, you got plenty of depth there, at least what we think you do. Linebackers, you seem to be okay. I mean, I guess if you had a stud defensive back that said, hey, I want to go join Nick Saban, but you've got a punter, you got a kicker. Is there an area of concern that you would listen if somebody had an interest in your program?
I'm going to tell you, if you go to our regular home station, Top 100.9, they have a great article up Joe Gaither wrote, and we were talking about that. I'm going to tell you, I would go after a big nasty. I'd try to find a Landon Dickerson. My concern with this Alabama team, Ryan, is the big hog mollies might just be hogs, not mollies, if that makes sense. I don't know if we have any Chris Owens, no attitude there in terms of nasty. Evan Neal, big, strong, athletic kid, but no nasty in him. And so one guy that came up, and a lot of our listeners won't know him, but he's old school nasty in my opinion. He's already been at Georgia, now he's at Tennessee. Cade May, big offensive lineman. He has the pedigree from his dad. I think you infuse him into this offensive line, and Alabama would absolutely be unstoppable once again.
All right, so Martin, I'm gonna add one more position here, and I hope this doesn't irritate anybody. Pretty comfortable with Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is going to be a superstar here. But if I was looking at a guy that, let's say that it's a smaller school and you want to get into coaching, kind of like Gardner Minshew a couple of years ago, even though it kind of worked out better for him to go to Washington State and end up going to the pros. But would you look at a backup quarterback because you think Jalen Milroe is that guy? Paul Tyson is a guy that can give you something. But if you're looking for a weakness, it may be depth at that quarterback position.
I would agree if you were looking from a depth standpoint, the quarterback would definitely be a position. And I don't know if you got to watch the FCS National Championship game. But the quarterback from Sam Houston would be at the top of my list. He was a and I don't want to. I was going to say a lesser brand of what we have as our starter right now, but he may be better. He's tough. He could run. He had a nice arm and led his team in 3 different games. Ryan, they were down in the fourth quarter and brought them back. That's the type of kid you're talking about. Somebody like that would be a guy at that same level of Carson Wentz of the world and Trey Lance's of the world. I think this kid may be the next one in that, and he probably would jump at an opportunity to come here and fight for some PT at Alabama. So, yes, the other place I would potentially go, Ryan, is to replace Patrick Surtain. I'd be calling up Stingley right now from LSU and saying, come on over, baby.
Could you imagine at the SEC, the rivalry, you go out and get one of those guys? Oh, my heavens, wow.
And here's the thing, Ryan. It's no longer just Alabama getting good, okay? Alabama didn't just get good. Tennessee got bad, got worse, right? I mean, you take Stingley away, you take like I said, I can't, the tight end, I can't, whatever his name is, big tight end from Texas A&M. I'll have to look up his name here in a minute so I can pay the young man respect. But you take him, you don't just help Alabama, you hurt Texas A&M. And so it's a double whammy. And, of course, the SEC, Ryan, hasn't decided whether they're going to let it be or not. They don't have a choice, Ryan. Think about this for a second. It comes down, it's a recruiting battle. Big Ten, ACC, Ohio State, Clemson, or Alabama. And the kid's considering those 3 schools. The Big Ten will let me transfer within conference or anywhere else in the country. So does Clemson. The ACC. SEC says, oh, you have to leave this conference. Well, you just took away some of the best teams for me to transfer to. Kids are it's going to hurt the league if you'll have kids leaving the SEC, going to Ohio State and Clemson, then turning around and coming back, beating the SEC. So it's going to pass. I'll be shocked if it doesn't, I should say. And then that's going to hurt the league again.
Martin, you were talking about, I believe, about Jalen Wydermyer.
That's him. Wydermyer, that's him.
265, guy caught 46 balls last year for 506 total yards, 6 touchdowns, 11-yard average. So, and I guess if you look at it, I mean, we don't really have a blocking tight end, do we?
And he's more than, I mean, he's a inline. I think that's what Latu is probably. But most of the time, Ryan, we're going to go with who? We're going to put in, a non-threatening former offensive lineman, masquerading as a tight end. And you get that guy, and now you have the ability to put him at the end of the line of scrimmage and then move him out, shift him out from there to wide out, bring him back in and create a mismatch all within the same play and not give away that it's a run play or a pass play or play to the other side.
Let's break here. We'll come back. That's Martin Houston. I'm Ryan Fowler. We're going to get Pat into the conversation next. T-Town Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
At Northport Auto Supply, we understand there's nothing worse than a dead battery. So to keep this from happening, be sure you periodically check your battery, including the terminals for corrosion. And if you ever need help, then come by Northport Auto Supply and let our knowledgeable professionals check your battery for free. Northport Auto Supply has the area's largest inventory of batteries in stock, and we'll even install it for you at no charge.
Northport Auto Supply. Why go anywhere else?
At Townsend Nissan, your trade-in value is at an all-time high, and Townsend Nissan wants it today. Yes, we have a great selection of new and pre-owned vehicles starting at only $10,990. Wow, and new Kicks crossover starting at $19,990. Now that's savings, folks. Yes, we have the hot new Rogue and Armadas. Plenty of trucks here, too, at Townsend Nissan Tuscaloosa. We've got the inventory, and yes, we'll pay top dollar for that trade-in. That's the makings of a great car deal for you today. Townsend Nissan, Skyland Boulevard, right across from the State Trooper's office.
Gotta finish this today. Hoy tenemos
Cristiano's construction projects typically run smoothly, but this project's pipeline is about to burst.
Hey, boss, where you want us to put this? To the left. Your other left. John.
Indeed can help him hire the people he needs.
I hate Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance.
Traders, listen up. As life in America starts to return to normal, are you looking for the best trading opportunities? With the current real estate market, the rise of crypto, and the volatility of tech stocks, it's virtually impossible to guess what will happen next. With Vantage Point, you don't have to. Text the word money to 813-813 to learn how our technology analyzes over 1 million data points per day. Text the word money to 813-813 so you can learn how to predict market trends up to 3 days in advance with incredible accuracy. Whether you're trading stocks, options, forex, futures, or crypto, Vantage Point's patented artificial intelligence can give you a massive edge. Text money to 813-813 to find out how to maximize your gains. Text the word money to 813-813 to learn how to use the volatility to your advantage. Don't wait. Text the word money to 813-813 now.
Go to VantagePointSoftware.com for terms, conditions, and privacy policy.
Talking Alabama Crimson Tide football on Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler in Tuscaloosa on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
So welcome you right back into Alabama Tradition, the past, present, future, the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's Martin Houston. I'm Ryan Fowler. As we will get into the conversation, let's welcome in Pat. Pat, good afternoon. You're in Alabama Tradition. Welcome into the game.
Good evening, fellas. They're my two favorite radio talk show personalities. I agree with Martin, except for I would like to see it to go from the last day of fall classes to the first day of winter classes, and reason being is strictly for the student athlete to be able to get back into school in a timely manner. You know, we've got to look at these kids as also being student athletes, even though, yes, I like to get, and it's got, Latu is going to, Tua is going to be an NFL player. Yes, I understand that, but he's also a student athlete. What do y'all think?
Well, he is, and I think, I've asked a lot of different former players about team chemistry. You know, we've talked about Jalen Moody. I'm not saying that this is going to happen because I've watched Nick Saban manage a lot of things, but do you wonder about bringing a guy in knowing that, because it may create some uneasiness about other positions because you don't know at some point you're going to go out and get another guy. I mean, does it hurt and I'm not talking about the immediate future, but does it hurt the future and the years to come? Martin, jump in.
And I can see Pat's point, and my initial stance, Pat, was that it needs to happen by like the end of January, what I had initially said, and that was thinking more about the student athletes that were signing. Think about a kid who's trying to decide where he's going to sign, and then he commits to Alabama, signs the paper, and then Alabama the next week or down the road, before I even make it to campus, goes out and gets a guy of the caliber of Henry Toa to come play. If he had committed or had to make that decision in January, I might sign with someone else. And Pat, you know that Ryan, you remember the year when Alabama brought all those guys in and they had some type of thing that they could get them all in February or something? You remember that year, a few years back with the early enrollees? There was guys who signed and they actually got them enrolled. It was some type of mini semester that get some cost.
No, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they were trying to get them enrolled, and it was a mini semester. There was a
at the beginning of the year.
Yes, yeah, and it was like, how did you create those classes? Most people didn't even know that those were even an option in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and so I would assume that all colleges have that, Pat. But that's the other reason, Pat, is like I said, I don't know, man. I love the rule. I just don't. I don't want it to ruin college football, and I don't think it will. But I do think it is going to make some top heavy football. Tennessee, and I'll make this prediction today. Tennessee will never be back. How will they get back?
They're not coming back, Martin.
They will never be.
Yeah. That ship has sailed.
That ship has sailed.
Because
before we let y'all go, I do want to bring, because y'all almost brought it up and then you didn't go any further. I thought I was reading or listening to Orson Welles earlier today. I was reading where T.J. Finley is talking to the Alabama coaching staff, and that there seems to be a little smoke on both sides. A 6'6", 250-pound quarterback. If he could learn how to value the football, he could be a good player. What do y'all think?
Well, the rumor I heard was he's really high on Auburn and thinks he has a better chance of beating Bo Nix out.
I'd heard about academics if I was high on Auburn.
And so, but that's what I've heard in terms.
I would, man. Because listen, I've watched transfers in the last couple of days. Guys have left there, went to IU. Guys have left there, went to Tennessee. Guys have left and went to USC, and I think there's others. I mean, something's happening down there. I mean, I know sometimes you have to lose before you can break them down and get them ready, but it just seems to be some uneasiness around the first couple of months with Brian Harsin down there.
Well, guys, thank y'all for taking my call. But like I said, I thought I was in the twilight zone when I read about T.J. Finley. My goodness.
Well,
okay.
he could be a guy. Thanks, Pat. He could be a difference maker if he ended up here. I don't know why he would choose to come here. Why not stay at LSU and battle against those guys? There was not anything spectacular about any of those guys that would make him leave. So I don't see him choosing Alabama, but because the competition is going to be even greater than it was where he's leaving from, and we'll see.
That's Martin Houston. I'm Ryan Fowler. We're going to wrap up the loose ends. We're going to talk a little Alabama softball. Preview that coming up in a couple of minutes. We got baseball, trying to find a way to be a part of the tournament. We'll continue with more of the game. This is Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Today, I'm going to surprise my girlfriend of 5 years.
postseason seem like they're peaking at the right time.
They're absolutely peaking at the right time. Talking about a softball program, Ryan, as you said, it was built from the ground up, and I love the way he built it. He built it exclusive from Alabama football fans, so there is a mad following for Alabama softball that does not depend on the Alabama football team and program. I think that's why you've seen the sustained success, Ryan, because the support and the buy-in is there from the fans, the university, and, of course, the players. But as storied as this program is, Ryan, we may be watching on the softball field very much what we've had the opportunity to watch in football, possibly the best to in that storied tradition, maybe two of the best to ever do it at the capstone with Bailey Hemphill, of course, setting the school record. And I reminded people the other day, Ryan, she said it with a whole season missing. She didn't have last year's SEC, huh?
Wow, I never thought about what yours. Yeah.
Yeah, she said it with missed the whole season, the entire SEC season last year, and she still set the record for most home runs. So definitely in high cotton eliteness there. And then was this performance, Ryan, because of the way softball works, was this 3-game stretch as dominant a performance by an Alabama athlete in the school's history? You have to think, Ryan, they won their first game, but then they had 2 series this past year that they didn't win. They lost the weekend series to Kentucky, and they lost the weekend series to Florida. She came back with vengeance, just absolutely annihilated them. 39 strikeouts, SEC tournament record. So big time.
Well, it was fun to be able to watch Montana Fouts. Just the record, the endurance, just you're sitting there and you're like, wow, what she's able to do is pretty remarkable. I heard Coach Patrick Murphy on this same station earlier, and one of the things that he said, you look at things that they recruit. He talked about one. He said we recruit kids to our program, but we also recruit the parents. But one of the other things that he kind of put out there is he said, when you take a look at this program, he said one thing we may miss out on. He said we may miss out on talent, but we're not going to miss out on character. And that was a big statement. I mean, I just think it was a cool statement because he said we can work on the other things, but we're not gonna strike out on talent. Character. We may miss, but we're going to miss on talent. And I thought that was, thinking about his program. And Martin, I can't tell you the last time I heard anything negative about the softball program. I can't think of any.
I don't know that there is anything out there, Ryan. But when you get, he knows how to see talent as well.
Sure he does.
And Ryan, and I think Nick Saban learned a thing or two from him. You remember how much he talked about Bryce Young, and how he talked about Bryce Young, the person, as much as he did about Bryce Young, the quarterback, and that was coming off of the previous 2 number 1 overall picks being disasters. And we see that they're still out there chasing or running from the demons, whichever one you may put it at, talking about Alabama's previous 2 number 1s to Bryce Young. And then yet again with this class, you hear him talk a lot about the character. And I think he realized that, it's already enough challenges with this younger generation. Let's go out and get good football players as good people and see what we can do. And nobody does it better than Patrick Murphy.
Well, it's just, it's a lot of fun to be able to see his program. And, it seems like right now, I've said this multiple times, I don't think the brand of the University of Alabama has been any higher than it is right now. And I'm not talking about just football. I'm talking about all the sports. When you look at the script A, look at it. I don't know if there ever has been a year in our history where you win basketball, softball, gymnastics, and then on the football side, an SEC championship, and you're competing. I mean, you look at gymnastics where they finished, look at where basketball was able to do. You take a look at, the other things with softball, and, who knows what the future may hold. Greg Burns somewhere has got to be celebrating, smiling ear to ear of what he's been able to accomplish. And then I'm going to mention something else. Track and field also in the conversation with having a successful season. Rowing today, the first time that they've ever been invited to the NCAA tournament. That announcement coming down earlier today. So you just look at all that. I mean, that combined, Greg Byrne has built an entire athletic department, or maybe has raised one up, taking everything in the brand of the University of Alabama.
And Ryan, you speak of that. Is Alabama not right now leading the Capital One Cup in terms of the men's sports? I think they
would have to be.
I think they're clearly number one in that slot. I think sitting with 82 points, and of course with what happened this weekend, they may have jumped into that with the women's sports as well. So clearly a conversation for another day. But is Alabama getting to enjoy, Ryan, the best coach in college football? At the same time, having the benefit of having the best athletic director in the history of Alabama and maybe college sports. So, right, he's special. I think he Burns the real deal.
Martin Houston leads us out mornings at 6 a.m. Wimpin Berry inside the locker room, 7 until 9, 9 until 11. The Gary Harris Show, Southern Fried Sports with Travis Fryer, 11 until noon, 12 until 2. Martin Houston's side of things, when you look at Jay Barker and you look at Lars Anderson, 12 until 2, we lead you in each afternoon, 2 until 6. We talk a lot of Alabama Crimson Tide athletics. All of that is possible on Tide109.com. Tide109.com. Martin Houston, morning, 6 a.m. Martin, we got to get out of here, man. It's been a fun hour talking Alabama Crimson Tide football. Roll Tide to you, man.
Roll Tide to you. It's fun to be with you on Alabama Tradition, and appreciate you, sir. Have a blessed day, and catch you on the flip side.
Absolutely. Thank you, Martin Houston. That's Martin Houston. Big thanks to Bryant and everybody else that's a part of our team. We will see you tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Shutting it down, I was told a couple of seconds ago that there will be no title talk. So if you were dialed in for that, that will be not happening. We're going to switch to ESPN. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 2 o'clock. This is Alabama Tradition, the past, present, future, the Alabama Crimson Tide.